is Olaomi. Hi everyone, once again, my name is Olaomi. I'm a professional Scrum Master, MBA Management, MSc Project Management, Certified Agile Project Manager, Foundation Practitioner, crossed out. I'm also the Program Director within BlueSky, just to help you guys ease off with your IT dreams. So it's nice to meet all of you, and I hope you guys can, absorb as much as you can tonight. So ground rules. My first ground rule, ginger yourself to participate as much as you can when time, allows for the participation. Please try and listen as much as you can, be attentive, take in what you can. You might not be able to take in everything, but as usual, I'll send you the video so you can go back and chew on it, yeah? Then, if possible, create a glossary for yourself right now and update as we go with the buzzwords, or should I say new words, just for your own personal growth in this IT journey, yeah? So those are my ground rules for today. So we'll shoot immediately. Yeah. So for our table of contents, the truth is our real focus is Scrum ceremonies, which is the last two items. But it's always good to just give a bit introduction. But because of time, we're going to move faster in that introduction. Like I said, just taking as much as you can, and then so that we can finish on time. But most importantly, as you go, you get used to these things. Yeah. So, but before I go in Scrum ceremonies, um, you know, the reason anytime you hear ceremonies, please don't think it's Owambe or anything as usual. I always like to mention that when we say ceremonies, we're just calling it meetings. Other names that they call it is events, meetings, but all these ceremonies, they are just all the meetings that should be in place before you can say you're a Scrum team. Now, it doesn't mean you should be very rigid, but as much as you can, you have to walk through all those meetings. You can't say your team is a Scrum team if you do not observe these ceremonies. So that's the reason it's one of your first courses on the program for you to be able to understand what the ceremonies are about. All right. So please, if you can't hear me at any point, please feel free to let me know. Yeah. Um, by any chance, can you see my screen? Okay, yeah, I think it's cool. All right. Okay, thank
Yes,
you. Yeah, at some point I thought I lost the screen, but it's
that's
fine.
display table of content.
All right, thank you. Yeah, too much. Thank you. So, what's agile project management in the first place? Yeah. So, I put in some worded, so you can also grasp as much as you can. Then, when you're going through the recording, you can understand, have more understanding when you read through, what these meanings are. So agile project management is a flexible and iterative approach that breaks down projects into smaller sizes. It's that simple. Smaller, manageable cycles that we call sprints or iterations. But I will take us through what is sprint in the first place because I know Moji has touched on sprints, iterations, and all that, but it would be good to just give a quick recap of what those things are. So what's sprint? Sprint is just like a single time box, just one period to one period, yeah, where you can do your continuous development. That's what sprint is about. As simple as that. So usually, ideally, sprints can be between 1 to 4 weeks. Yeah. Most commonly, people have 2 week sprints because it's more suited to show, the amount of work you've done within that short period of time. But it also depends on your team. Every team has what they decide on. But like if we have 100 Scrum teams, I can assure you about 95 will be using the 2 weeks iteration, right? They'll be using the 2 week sprint for their work. The others, they might have reasons why they want theirs to be longer. Like my team, personally, we use 3 week sprints, and the reason is just because we need to think ahead for people or resolve people's issues. So it's not something that they're just doing delivery, as they should. You need a lot of time to do a lot of thinking, creating processes, simplifying processes for people to work. So that's why we made out the 3 week sprint. Now there's some other teams that will have 4 week sprints. Maybe they don't really have access to their stakeholders. Those are the reasons why some people make their sprints longer. But be careful not to make sure you fall into a category of a team that they just want to be lazy, that they don't want to keep doing the Scrum ceremonies or something, or when you see teams that are like that, that means something is not right. So you need to make sure people enjoy the ceremonies, right? And when I mean enjoy, it doesn't mean oh be happy. No, it's for them to find value. That's the enjoyment in Scrum ceremonies. You have to find value in what you're doing. That's the whole idea. Yeah. That being said, so I'll also tell you what iteration is. Iteration and sprint most times are used interchangeably, but they're just slightly different. Iteration is when you're just saying you are repeating a process, yeah, repetitive process. So it's also a time box where development takes place. And I already mentioned that it varies from 1 to 4 weeks, but this is like a fixed duration for a particular project, yeah. So the whole duration, but sprint is just one out of those iterations. Iterations will, more folds. Sprint is more like just one, but you have many sprints within, your development life cycle. Anyways, you get to understand them as you go. But sincerely, between you and I, everybody uses sprint iteration, interchangeably. But they're very similar words. So the reason, you know, people really, I'll just give a brief understanding of agile waterfall. I'll just say that recap again. So the main thing is project management, two branches, two methodologies, Agile and Waterfall. Agile is the new girlfriend in town. Waterfall is the OG. We call it traditional method of doing things. So Waterfall is more like, just a linear way. The ways they do it is just predetermined. Proper planning has gone on from start to finish, no interruption. So please, when we talk about Waterfall, there is a traditional way. It doesn't mean that it's not good enough. Some people that are experts in this, they do very beautiful projects with Waterfall. Yeah, but for reasons that are more suited to the way that this world changes, the volatility of our current environment is why a lot of companies are leaning towards agile. So agile allows you to respond to feedback, adjust your work throughout the project. It's not stiff, like waterfall is more just linear, is already predetermined how they want to do it. They've planned their plan, they've done everything. Even some agile projects, for example, they can use 2 months, 3 months just on planning. They've not even started the work, but on the agile side of things, just a little planning, delve into the work, you get feedback, go back. So you see it's rotating in the sense that you just, start working, test it, get feedback. That's the review, start again until you're able to launch at the end of the day. And in this process, the stakeholder, or should I say the sponsor, they are involved from start to finish. Unlike waterfall that they're involved at the start, then you jam them back at the end, right? But in agile, they are in throughout the process, throughout. They are working with you side by side. You do something, you come back at the end of 2 weeks. Remember, I told you 2 weeks iteration. You give them, feedback. They give you, you give them progress of work. They give you constructive feedback on, what. Oh, I don't like this one. I like this one. Put in this. Well, this was not what I expected. You want to change this. Unlike when you have spent so much money and finished building the item. So in simple ways, if I want to build a phone in Waterfall, I'll sit down, plan the whole thing. Okay, we need to do the screen, we need to do the camera, we need to do the video, then we'll put it together at the end, then show the customer. Now, if they turn it on, it doesn't turn on. Money has wasted though. They'll just go back and start, trying again. But money, time, and effort, everything has gone, right? But on the agile side of things, they will do only the screen, test it. The screen must be working, like working. They will turn it around. Is it able to turn 360? Is it able to, screen is working. They give a thumbs up. They go, yeah, camera. Can the camera see from here to Jalingo? That kind of thing. They take it one after the other, test it, make sure it's working before they put it together and call it an item, something like that, right? So, but agile in the sense of it itself, this is the definition of the agile project management side of things. But agile in itself is iterative approach of delivering a project throughout its life cycle, helps team deliver to customer faster. So imagine if I want you to, get me build a house for me, right? And by the time I do the foundation, I tell you, come over and see it. The person looks at the foundation. Okay, it's good enough, but you know what? I know I'm the one that said I wanted 4 bedroom, but cut this 4 bedroom into two. I want it to be five. This bigger room, cut it into two, let it be five. There and there with the foundation, you can quickly make the adjustments. Now you can imagine on the waterfall side of things that they built the full 4 bedroom. Please, where do you want them to start cutting and dividing the room? That means there'll be damages. They might need to break some walls. They might need to, you understand? But in that agile side that the guy came to check foundation, which wall are they breaking? They will just demarcate inside the ground too and continue because they've not even raised it up to linted or anything. So that's while a lot of people lean towards, I'm just giving us a simple example so we can resonate with what I'm trying to say. All right, moving forward, because I told you because of time, I'm really, really watching the time. I'm very conscious of the time. So frameworks in Agile. There are lots of frameworks in Agile. Remember, I told you two methodologies, Agile, Waterfall. Now, on the Agile side of things, there are lots of frameworks under the Agile, right? So for Agile framework, we have all these, types, all these frameworks, Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Scrum the one side of things is just short sprints where you do your events and everything, which is what we're going to learn a bit today. Kanban, just visualization of work, extreme programming, more like program pairing, lean, avoid waste, those kind of things. These ones are, some organizations use this, but they are not so popular. DSDM is actually very popular approach too, but very close to Scrum, but has their own terminologies and all that. All these people, they have different terminologies within, some similar, some not, but they are all agile frameworks. But the most popular ones are, let's say these three, Sha. Let's give it to these three. But the king of them is Scrum and Kanban. Yeah, they're very popular. Most companies use Scrum and Kanban. Some use both, and when they use both, we call it Scrum Ban. Yeah, they try to use both to depending on the team, because some teams actually do not need Scrum. After a while, you get to understand, why some teams lean on Kanban. Moving forward, same thing, same thing. I just like my umbrella picture. So, what is Scrum in itself? Yeah. So Scrum, let me just put it all out. All right. So Scrum is designed to help team collaborate on complex products iteratively and incrementally. You can't but hear iterative and incremental as we go. Yeah. So Scrum is just to help team collaborate, communicate, work together, work hand in hand. I understand what my Scrum Master is telling me to do. I understand what my lead QA is telling me to do. We understand each other. Even my stakeholder, I understand each other. Scrum is just that framework that is designed to help everybody be able to work together, collaborate, and structure their work very well throughout the whole life cycle of the project, right? So sometimes people from time to time even change some methodologies they use as part of the project, but that's by the way. Scrum also helps teams structure and manage their work throughout set of truths, set of values. So in Scrum, we have values, we have principles and practices of Agile. We use Scrum team, different things. You see some touch of it as we go further. Then it is one of the most adopted frameworks. I already mentioned that. So remember, our focus for today is Scrum ceremony. I'm just giving us a bit of peripheral so we understand. When I'm talking about the ceremonies, it will not now be like Greek to you. You're getting a bit familiar with the word Scrum, iteration, incremental. Yeah. So when we say increment, what is increment? Whatever you do previously, add it to the new one, plus and minus, Abi. So for increment, it's plus. So you remember we work in sprint. If I do small work within these 2 weeks, I do another one in the next 2 weeks, I'll add the two together. That's an increment. I do another one in 2 weeks, add until I get to the destination I'm going to. Yeah. So if I'm building a house, the first 2 weeks, I know the time frame is small, but just pretend with me. So I'm building a house. I use only 2 weeks to do the foundation. That's fine. I use 2 weeks to raise it up. That's fine. I use 2 weeks to do the roof. You see, I'm adding. That's an increment. I'm adding. At the end of the day, what am I looking for? A full house, right? But I'm adding, adding. That's what increment is in simple terms. Iterative is period of time. I did that one for 2 weeks. I did this one for 2 weeks. I did this one for 2 weeks. The period of the project is 3 months. You understand? That's iterations. Yeah. So that's the idea. So let's move forward. This is the whole Scrum framework at a glance. I always like to show this and tell a story with this. Yeah. So Scrum. Remember in the previous slide, I said apologies. I'm a bit down today. I don't know why. Scrum framework set of rules, roles, events, and artifacts used to implement agile projects. So you see those rules, roles, they're all inside this picture. Yeah. But I'll explain it with a story a little bit. It emphasizes teamwork. Remember, we spoke about teamwork, collaboration. That's what it's about. Accountability and iterative progress. Yeah. So please follow the journey. In Scrum, Scrum is very, very clear. all you need to understand is this journey, yeah, and it takes you to the work that is finished. So I'm in an organization. I have my executive, my stakeholders, customers, users. They are all the bosses, so to say. Yeah. So let's use stakeholder in this instance. So the stakeholder, they have an idea what they want to do. Or should we use customer? The customer that wants us to create something that has requested for a project to be done. They request for something within the executive and all that. And they say, okay, yeah, we have a Scrum team that can carry out this project. So who is the first person they're going to interact with in that Scrum team? Yeah. So they're going to interact with the product owner. The product owner has the vision for the team because the product owner is that first bridge between these big boys and these other numerous people. Yeah. So apologies. Thank you. My own stakeholder has come. Please go. Thank you. All right. So we have this discussion. The first interface, the first person they call is the product owner. So they tell the product owner everything we want to do on this project. So, okay, we want to create this website for, BlueSky Citadel to be able to interface with their students and all that, or should I say to their interns, right? So they say that's what they want to do. This PO will ask some questions too to be sure they have an idea. Now the PO also probably tag along with the BAs. They bombard these guys with questions to be sure that we're clear because sometimes you might think you want to do something and some people don't even have enough knowledge of what they want to do. So there's that clarity that needs to go on. So the BAs, that's why we call it elicitation of requirements. The BAs will ask those questions alongside the PO. They will ask questions to be sure that they have a good idea of the project they want to carry out. Yeah. So when they do that, now the PO will now come back to the team and speak to the team about everything. Yeah. So they start with the BAs. The BAs will now pick all what they said and write it out as stories. Yeah. So stories is that small amount of work we want to do on that big thing. That's what story is. When you hear story, because it's written in a story form, that's why we call it stories anyways. But stories are the amount of work you want to do on something, on a particular project. That small little chunk of work you want to do. That's what a story is. So the PO that has cascaded to the BAs, everything they want to do. I'm just saying in reality, that's why I say sometimes the BAs tag along with the PO to ask all the questions. But sometimes the POs take it in and cascade to the BAs. So the BAs now write out everything this guy has told them. So when they write the list of all the things, now the team now comes in play. So the team now decides, okay, this PO first decides what's the priority, what are the first few things we should do. So they rank it. So let's say these orange light ones are the first few things. So the team comes, they read through the story, they are sure we have the technical skills to do this, we're able to do this. Now when I'm talking about the team, these bad guys here, they are the developers, the quality assurance guys, UI UX designers, even it depends on the project. DS can even be part of this team. Anyone can be part of this team at this point. Well, except of Scrum Masters and the PO, they probably won't be part of the team in quotes, right? So these guys here, they sit together now and discuss this in our sprint planning, right? I'm just trying to give you a bit of story. We'll do the story at the end and you understand better. So these guys pick up these three work and come here. So these three works are this same orange task that they want to do. We've agreed as a team that this is what we want to do. Then we take it up and start working every 2 weeks. Depends on what we do. It can be 1 week, it can be 4 weeks. But in Blue Sky, we use 2 weeks, right? So every 2 weeks, we work on this. Finished work, we work on this. Finished work. But in between every hour, every day rather, every 24 hours, we do what we call daily scrum meeting, which is our daily stand-up, right? We come together and give a gist. Okay, what's the updates? What did you do yesterday? What are you working on today? Do you have any impediments? You come and give that gist every day. Say, for example, every 10 a.m. in the morning, we do this gist. So we do the gist. Now you see there's this other bad guy here in red. He's making sure all these things are happening. That's the work of this guy, the Scrum Master. He's making sure all these things are happening. Do they have the right applications to do their work? Is everybody having an impediment that needs to be removed? Are we working as we should? Are we working in full capacity? Is anybody lazing out? Is there somebody that is not putting the work they are doing or showing it on their board? Is there anyone not understanding what we need to do? Is there anybody having issues reaching their stakeholders? This guy is making sure the team works smoothly. Yeah. So when they finish all this, da, 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 they now come back to these guys. So these people now, that's the whole team. Remember now the combination of the product owner, the BAs, QAs, developers, the Scrum Master, all of us now come together now and do a sprint review. And this sprint review is us talking to these guys, these stakeholders. We come and tell them that you sent us to go and do this, so this is what we've done so far. Remember, we've done only one, two, three. This is what we've done so far. So this one, two, three that we've done so far, what do you think about it? So these guys will now tell us, oh, this is a great job, or they say, oh, this is good. However, change this, add this, remove this, do this, do this. Then we take that as constructive feedback and go back and do this process again. Yeah, and add more things. Now we'll now add four, five, six, or more, depending on our capacity within the team. So long and short, these guys ask the product owner, we want to achieve this. The product owner comes to the team, speaks to the BA first. The BAs write all this product backlog, right? The product backlog is all the things we think we want to do in simple terms, all the work we think we want to do. However, when the team sits down, we can't do all the work at once. We will take based on priority, so we'll take a few things, we'll start working based on our capacity and priority that has been given to us. Yeah. So we start working, we break them into smaller tasks and start working within the 2 weeks. But every hour, we give a feedback to the whole team of what we want to do. Now, at the end of the 2 weeks, we go and do a review with these guys. After the review, it becomes finished work before we go and do the review, anyways. So we do the review, and after this review, we now come back and retrospect what went well, what didn't go well, you know, within this. What can we adjust? Were we able to communicate well? Was our stakeholders available for us? We'll come to this sprint retrospective. Ah, sorry, IT was crap this sprint. They were not able to help us resolve this, which delayed this work. We'll come to the retrospective and retrospective is a place to relax and yet dish out and tell us exactly what we need to improve for the next sprint. Because you can imagine this guy is doing this work continuously, and there's no gist about how can we do better. So this spot is where we do better. Yeah. So with this captures the whole of Scrum. As big as you hear Scrum everywhere, this is the whole process of Scrum. Nothing outside of this, so sincerely. But with time, you get to understand it and sit in each of these columns, right? I just did a simple story to and recapped it for us to have an understanding. I hope somebody picked, what we explained. So it's a process. Yeah, I like this word just enough. So in Scrum, you just have just enough structure for people to start working. Yeah. For people to start working, you have just enough structure for people to start working. Yeah. So let's move to the next because of time. So we've spoken about iteration over and over. We've spoken about, okay, yeah, for team size of a Scrum team, usually around 10. Now, please don't go to your exam and go and pick 10. You see 7 plus or minus, just look at what the Scrum guide says and follow it. But when you say 7 plus or minus, we're talking about around 9, right? So some people just put an average of 10, for a Scrum team. The reason is because 10 people can still work together amicably, but you can imagine having 25 people. It's always difficult to communicate very well with 25 people. Imagine just three friends, they always want to fight and quarrel and break their heads, let alone when you now have 10 people that you're trying to make sure that they carry out, a particular work. So that's why Scrum size has limited work to about 10 people. Yeah. So like I said, always be flexible and open-minded. You see some organizations that have way more than that. So what's Scrum Guide? Remember I just mentioned Scrum Guide like a minute ago. Scrum Guide, this is what actually guides all the Scrum that we are doing. Yeah. Please take your time. Just type in latest Scrum guide on the internet and read through it. It's 16 pages and they're bold prints, so you can read it in 40 minutes or something. I think that's usually the average. So, but within an hour, you can read the Scrum guide. It tells you everything about Scrum. It was created by developers just to help guide them in development work. Yeah. So I won't waste time on this because of time. So we also have what we call Agile Manifesto and 12 Principles of Agile. Please go through them, they're important. It's not something we go through now, I just thought to flash it for you. Then we also have what we call 3 pillars of Scrum. It's also known as empiricism. What's empiricism? Empiricism is when you are talking, if you check maybe even like a Google word of what it is, it's just experience. Something you are sure that, you know, is reality, it is fact. So in Scrum, we have 3 pillars that Scrum relies on. It's called transparency, inspection, and adaptation. I always tell people to try to put this in mind. At some point, you can be a Q and they will ask you in an interview, as silly as it sounds. Yeah. So please just SMs, students, everyone. You can use a code. Some people say AIT, but I always prefer to say TIA because I like it as it comes. TIA is transparency, inspection, and adaptation. What's transparency talking about? Every step of the process should be transparent. And that's why, remember, last week we've spoken about Azure DevOps, Jira, and all that. So we use a board to show that transparency. If something is going on, say for example, I'm trying to work on something, I'm not able to work on it. It's not the one I'll be hiding and waiting till the end of the sprint to be able to say I can't work on it. No, it doesn't happen that way. You can't lie to your team members. Always try to be very transparent, be visible, be involved. Everything that you need to do, that's just be transparent. When it comes to Agile, you just be clean. Yeah. Inspection is, remember I told you after we finish a sprint, we go and inspect ourselves. That inspection is the review, and even that retrospective as a team we sit down and retrospect, and that's inspection. You can't just be working and not inspect yourself. You can't just be working and not look back. What have we done before? Oh, if there was a mistake, remember it's in 2 weeks. It's not the one that you'd have done something for 1 year. You now be looking back to look at a mistake. In fact, you might even have forgotten that mistake, right? But within 2 weeks, you still remember the mistake and try and walk through it. So that's what we do in our retrospective and all. But you get to know all the Scrum ceremonies very shortly. And then for adaptation, when you are giving feedback, you go back and adapt to it. When you need to change the process, you go back and adapt it. You don't need to worry that, oh, somebody said go and change this. It's just a short period of time. Quickly change what you need to do and progress in the work. So teams should be willing to adapt to processes and address problems, immediately. That's change process and all that within the team. So that's the pillar that Scrum sits on. Very, very important. Be transparent, inspect yourself. Even with daily stand-up, we inspect ourselves regularly, every 24 hours. We check ourselves, are we doing the right thing? Are we working as we should? What do you intend to do today? You can imagine when we come into the stand-up today to say, I want to do A, I come tomorrow stand-up, I want to do A, I come next week. Scrum Master, once you ask that, Oga, you've been saying you want to do A, what happened to A? Why have you not done it? That Wumi should have been transparent to say, okay, I'm not able to do A because of this. So right now I'm working on B, pending when I'm able to resolve A, but the resolving I have escalated and the resolve is in progress. I don't know if you get the gist. So the idea is just to be transparent. It's always important to mention before we now delve into Scrum. We also have 5 Scrum values. They all work interchangeably with this. They all work interchangeably with the transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So for the 5 values of Scrum, we have courage and respect. As they should, they are, just a moment, as they should, they are very important in the life cycle of a project. So you need to make sure that everybody within your team is committed. How do you make your team committed? Keep them interested. Don't give them bring them into ceremonies that they don't even enjoy. They don't even know what's going on. There's no value. Some people in organizations, you see people, they'll just be calling meeting, 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 meeting. What's the value? What's the value? You can't do a meeting without having value, right? Anytime you call your guys for a meeting, plan ahead of the meeting. Make sure that everybody. So if I'm a QA lead right now, I want to call other QAs for a meeting. I don't just go into the meeting and say, it's our regular meeting. No, before the meeting, what do we want to do? What's the agenda? What are we going to talk about? Is it beneficial to the team? Will they learn from it? As a Scrum Master, I want to call people, come for this meeting. You call for it. What's the benefit of that meeting? Is it necessary? Do we have to do it? Because for every time you call a meeting, you're taking them out of the main work they should be doing within the 2 sprints. And no other 2 weeks will come within that 2 weeks, right? It's that 2 weeks you have to do that work. If you use meeting to block the whole day, you're on your own. And remember, there's one quote, that people always say that when you take me out of what I'm doing, if I'm very engrossed in what I'm doing, and you take me out, it takes me 23 minutes to get my jig back. So that's what I was before. So it's a known fact. You can Google it. I'm not sure what the concept is about. But it takes me another 23 minutes to get back. So you can imagine me writing a code and everything. You pull me out for one meeting. Before I get back to where I am, it will take me a while to be able to pick up from where I am. So make sure that everything you're doing, there's focus, there's respect. Don't talk down on people. Don't talk on people. That's all I say something now. I just say, that's all, please. That's your opinion. And it doesn't count at all. What do you mean? You're on your own. Once you disrespect them another today, you disrespect her tomorrow. Next tomorrow, she will not talk at all. She will withdraw. And before you know, you're losing your team member. So see, imagine if Damisola withdraws because I did not respect her. Now, Damisola will not be committed. She'll come for meeting today. She'll not come for meeting tomorrow. She'll lose focus. She'll not have courage to even talk within her team members. And Damisola will be hiding things from us. She will not be open. You see why I said all these things are all interchangeable. So you need to be very, 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 very careful when it comes to your Scrum values. Remember, yesterday I was jokingly saying that you guys are still going to fight. I mean, it's actually the people that will quarrel, the people that will cry will cry, the people that will fight, the people that say, I'm leaving, will say they are leaving. So, but when you get to those kind of issues, count up to 30, take a step back, and find yourself back. You cannot but have conflicts, you understand? And you can be lucky, you can have a smooth sail. But if you have a smooth sail, there's more to it too. Okay, so let's delve in. Remember, I spoke about all the bad guys earlier. The Scrum Master, you can only have one in a team. The PO, you can only have one in a team. Very few teams you have 2 BAs. Most times you can have just one because that BA is supposed to be somehow like a backup for the PO. And then you now have the development team. This development team can change from time to time depending on the project. But, the main guys are the developers. There are different types of developers. So, but developers, you can have your quality assurance guys, that's the software testers. They'll test to be sure that things are working well. Even the business analysis, sometimes they flow with the team. DA, it depends on the project, like I said. It could also be a cybersecurity project, it depends. They're the ones, the only people on this call now that will not be working with these guys at all, at all, at all. In the sense that working in, but they will not be working in this, but they'll be working with, which is the APM. APM works with the team. They don't work in the team. So they work with the team. But for the sake of the internship, because both of you are, APM, you're doing a bit of SM here and here. So you'll be closely linked with your team so that you can get the juice of what is going on. But in reality, an APM, ADM, PM, you work outside of the team, but you work with the Scrum team. All right. Okay, so half past the ceremony itself. It's time to use the last 30 minutes because we started around 9-ish. So usually we use 2 hours plus for this, and now we're using 1 hour. So I'll go as fast as I can. But so far, so good. Secle, are we clear with some of the few things we've mentioned? Anyone? Don't go silent on me. I'm not going to allow, I'm going to pick you out if you don't. But so far, are you clear? Any questions so far? Anyone?
Yes,
All right.
that's fine.
You're clear, Gabriel, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, thank
I
you.
want to ask a
Ajani,
question. Yes, please.
shoot
What's the
them.
difference between sprint review and retrospective? I'm a little bit
Okay,
confused
so
about the two.
I like that question. Thank you. So you see, the sprint review, the Scrum team, they come together and give the updates of what they've done during the course of that 2 weeks. They give that update to the person that sent them to do the work in the first place. In simple terms, that's the stakeholder. It could be customer, it could be the sponsor, whoever that stakeholder is. The generic word is stakeholder, but the stakeholder that has stake in what they are working on, they will go back and give feedback to that person and show a demo of it to the person. So then that person will now give feedback. Say, for example, remember the house? The person now said, oh, I do not want 4 bedroom anymore. Now I want 5. I'm just using house because it's relatable, but usually to be on projects. So it will be maybe software projects and all that, depending on your company, anyways. Sometimes it could be engineering projects, sometimes, but let's leave it as software projects. So you go back and give feedback to, in simple, let me come home. At the end of my 2 weeks, I go and tell my Oga that sent us the work, where this is what we have done, and then they'll give me feedback. Yeah. So they now tell you, oh, this thing you've done so far, good, guys, carry on, right? Or they tell you, oh, good job so far. However, because like I said, it's constructive feedback. You will not see any organization that will say, hey, damn it, what did you do? Yeah, we don't do that. They just tell you, okay, how about you do this? How about you do that? Add this. Oh no, this was not what we expected. However, you guys have done the foundation of it. Okay, remove this part, add this part. Oh, I don't like this color. And add for example, somebody might say, oh, I don't like this blue color. And the person was one that asked for this blue. The person has, okay, please change it to royal blue. You understand? It's a feedback. So they'll give you feedback for the work you've done. Now, you remember we called stakeholders for this, but for retrospective, it's just us within the team. We
Okay.
within the team will sit down and gist. So let's say retrospective is usually 1.5 hours on an average, right? So we use the first 15 minutes. More. How's everybody? Are we good? Oh yeah, let's play a game. Or what, should we play an icebreaker? Okay. Can anybody give us any maybe tongue twister or anything? Or we even go out and hang out and eat fish. Anything, all that goes, right? But usually we plan that outside of the timing of the. But the first 15 minutes retrospective, for example, or first 20 minutes, you guys can do a game. You can do two truths and a lie, anything. You understand? Any game or icebreaker, just to ease the tension. Remember, you've worked for 2 weeks, so I'll tell you why the retrospective is the last ceremony. Actually, out of all the ceremony, is the very, 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 very last. Second to the last is the review, but the very, very last is this. That we have ended spring self at this point. So we'll gist after this gist, next day like this, we're starting new sprint, you understand? So when we sit down, you have an icebreaker. Now, after that icebreaker, do not forget the real reason for the retrospective. The real reason for the retrospective is to iron out the issues that has gone on during the course of that iteration that just passed. So what are the issues that came up? Oh, this stakeholder was very, very difficult. We're not able to reach him at some point. In fact, it took us almost towards the end of the sprint before we could reach him. Hence the reason for that flaw. Blah, blah, blah. What can we do to ease that off next time? And things that you can use to ease something like that off is what is his best mode of communication? Okay, let's find out from him. What does he like? Does he like emails? Is it text message? Does he like Teams chat? What does he like? So when you know that person's poison, you target the poison. Because you might have been trying to reach the person in a different way that the person does not really send. Some people, they like it when they are going to the elevator. You see them on the road, pursue them, catch them, meet them at the elevator, and tell them everything that wants to go on. So you now go and go back, okay. So we'll now appoint maybe Ojale, find out what that person really likes. And then if the person will come back, the person it's Teams chat, or the guy likes Teams chat, or we'll now be reaching that person in Teams chat. That means we resolved one of our issues that happened and slowed us down last spring. Do you get the gist? You come out
Yes.
and discuss everything. So that's retrospective, and it's only we. No
Okay,
stakeholder
lessons
comes in.
learned kind of
Lessons.
setup.
Hey, see me. Are you sure you're not going to do this presentation on Charlie? It's
I'm trying to
lessons
understand.
learned. Yeah, lessons learned. All the Baba things. I was trying to reach Ojale all through last spring. Because she was working from home, we did not hear her break like. She did not those are the kind of things. Or we didn't communicate, we didn't work together well as a team. Or IT messed up. We was trying to upload this tool. It was not uploading. It was not doing this. I reached out to IT. The Scrum Master even escalated. We did this. What can we do to resolve this? We'll find means to resolve that IT issue. My easy means of resolving IT issues to be a girlfriend to one of them. That kind of thing. When I mean girlfriend, it's a relative word. So I always make sure I find a friend in each department. So I don't use my lifeline anyhow. But however, if there's any, I'll just chat the person. Hi, what's up? I beg, no vex, please. Can you help resolve this and everything? My team is really struggling on this. Can you help? And they will resolve it because you've made a friend out of the person. And it doesn't mean it's only when you need help you not be toasting happy. You understand? So those are the kind of ways you can make life easy for your team. So my only sweetest strategy from ab initio, even from banking time to when I became Scrum Master and all that, it was always having boyfriend in each area. And they all know that they're each other's boy. Ola is your girlfriend, so you're on your own. Hey, Jubu is your girlfriend, you're on your own. They'll laugh about it because they know I'll just call all of them boyfriend, but no harm, no pun intended, right? So I'm just saying. So ways to resolve things. You find ways to resolve things, but I hope you get it. Just thank you. Ajishaka, you want to go next? You need
Yes.
to unmute. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Just want to understand what do you mean by artifacts?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when do you have you heard the word artifact before? Because I have not mentioned artifacts to you.
I saw it in the slide. I think the second page of the slide.
Okay,
Even the
I like
definition
that
of the
one.
Scrum. Yeah, the Scrum
So,
framework is a set of rules, events, and artifacts used to implement agile projects.
oh, I love that. Okay, yeah, very true. So you see, artifacts, they're all those things that you need to work with during the development of a product. Yeah. So all the things that you need to work with, they're all called artifacts. Now, there are three major artifacts. I'm going to carry you guys through those three major artifacts. I'll say it like a story again so that it will stick to your head. I've mentioned one before. Remember when I said product backlog? I said all the things we think we want to do. Yeah. So, but there are three major artifacts: increment, sprint backlog, and product backlog. I will go back to this previous slide. Apologies. Okay, we stopped on Scrum ceremonies. Yeah. So I'll go back to this so that it will make sense to us because actually it's important. Yeah. All right. So there are three artifacts in Scrum that are the major ones. Don't get me wrong, there are a gazillion artifacts. Honestly, they are because the artifact for Scrum Master is different from the one for product owners, is different from the one for PAs, is different. So there are plenty artifacts. But the three major ones for Scrum that just encompasses, cut across all the teams. Yeah. So we have what we call product backlog, sprint backlog. This finished work is called increment. So please don't be blind right now and see this as increments. So there are three things. Remember, I've spoken about the increment. Remember, I've spoken about the product backlog. The only thing I left a bit I didn't over mention was the sprint backlog, but I just said it's spring, you start working on it, right? So those are the three major things. So for the increment, no, I think it's better to always start from the product backlog. Hmm? All these artifacts, they are live artifacts because they keep changing, right? Especially this product backlog. Remember, I said all the things we think we want to do. Even after they've written up to number 8, they can add more things. Even remove number 4 and say, I think this one is irrelevant. Add a new thing to replace it. So, product backlog, all the things we want to do to enhance the work that we are doing, just to make our requirements, that we want to build, just to make that product more fleshy, so to say. You understand? It's compiled from different customers, different. You remember I told you that you go and seek elicitation from these guys. I was pointing instead of using my person. So you know what? Let me just use my pen.
Now, if I
All right.
get you right now, meaning that
So
these artifacts they are documentations, right?
yes, that's why I said. You see, documentations for QA different, BA different, SM different, but generic one cuts across everyone sort of. So all those documentation that you're putting inside the Azure DevOps board, this is the product backlog. You see it when we show you the interface of the Azure DevOps. So all the things we think we want to do will fall into this product backlog. Now the sprint backlog is these things that the team now sat down to decide they want to work on. 1, 2, 3. We now put it into sprint. The moment we click on start sprint, it becomes our sprint goal, right? So, but when we have not clicked on start sprint, that we've just decided as a team that okay, these are the three priorities, and these are the things we want to start working on. They are the ones that we want to commit into the sprint. Those three becomes the sprint backlog. And then when we now do it for the 2 weeks iteration, it now becomes the increment. Remember now, sprint 1, there's 1 increment. Sprint 2, we add another increment on it. Remember, sprint 1, we do foundation. Sprint 2, we carry to linted. That's an increment. Sprint 3, we pull roof. That's an increment. Sprint 4, we pull window. That's an increment. Sprint 5, we pull wiring. That's an increment. But by the time we finish everything, sprint 10, we paint the house. Sprint 11, we furnish the house. Sprint 12, we clear out all our tools and everything that are inside. House is ready. We put gates. Oh yeah, collect your key. That's the idea of increment. Adding to, adding to, adding to. So if I go back for a recap, product backlog, all the updates that we want, all the list of all the features, all the stories, anything we want to do, epic, all the list of everything we want to do, we'll put it. We'll decide on the ones, the product owner will be the one to rank anyways and tell us the main. Then we'll now agree that, okay, these are the ones we can work on as a team. We'll put it into the sprint. So when we want to put it into the sprint, it converts straight to the sprint backlog. Once we start sprint, it becomes our sprint goal. It becomes the sprint goal. So you see that we come here, we do a sprint planning, and then we now these tickets that are here are this same 3 that are here now. It becomes the sprint backlog. The moment we kick off like this, it becomes our goal for the sprints. We work, and when we are done, it becomes an increment. Product backlog, sprint backlog, increment, they are artifacts in Scrum. Yeah.
Thank you.
Second, 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶. All right. So let's move forward now. So, okay, we've gone through what is Scrum ceremonies. So what's the purpose of this ceremony? I'm going to read them out so that we, just have a bit of gist of what it's about. Let's see. Okay. So the reasons for the Scrum ceremony: empowers the team to collaborate. Remember, I told you about working together as one. It helps measure expectation. When we are saying measuring of expectation, what is it that we have planned? Is that what we're going to get at the increment at the end of the day? Is this what is expected? You can measure something when you have planned for something, but when you don't plan, how do you want to know the results that you're even expecting at the end of the day? And remember when Rita took you, she was saying, oh, expected results, they are all part of this thing. What you're expecting at the end of it. If I log into a website, what's my expectation? You understand? So, but this time we can measure what we expect to come out from that, collaboration that we have done, and the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the goal, what we expect in that increment at the end of the day. It helps you measure it. Provides the team with a framework to carry and a structured manner, right? We want to carry tasks out in a structured way. If everybody knows, okay, this is how Scrum goes. Don't get me wrong, it's not rigid, it's flexible. However, there's a structure in place. Remember the whole story, starting from the beginning. You get the stakeholder to tell the PO cascades to the team, the PS pick it up, they write out all the product backlog items, the team comes with the priority that the product order has told us. The team comes, they come and say, okay, let's agree, let's pick up these 5 packs for this 10 packs for this sprint. So we put it into the sprint backlog, and then as soon as we put it into the sprint, we start sprint. It becomes our goal for the sprint, and then we get an increment at the end of it. That's a structure. That's how you always do sprint on sprint. But every day cannot be the same, right? But there's a structure in place. Then it steers the team towards achieving successful results. When you have put a structure in place, he who fails to plan plans to fail. You have put a structure in place. You know what and what to do next. You know what the expectations are. You will be successful at the end of the day. Yeah. All right. So now we are back to the main gist for today. Now, according to the Scrum Guide, we have just 4 ceremonies, but on my screen it's 5. Please note that the sprint refinement is an additional ceremony. It's not an official ceremony, but it is important to have. So I'll just try to say the whole story, then we can rush through the rest. This always takes me a lot of time, but I'll not do that today. I'll just try and let us understand. So we have 5 ceremonies, so to say. Remember, I'm putting a disclaimer. Officially, there are 4. Sprint refinement is not officially a ceremony. Officially, it's sprint planning, your daily stand-up, sprint review, and retrospective. And so to say, I've spoken about everything. But I'll just give us a real quick recap. So for duration, we say the 4 hours within a 2-week sprint. But between you and I, the reason for these 4 hours is if you've done 2 hours here, for the refinement I said should not really exist, then you do the remaining 2 hours here, right? but it's not compulsory 2 hours. If you do the work very well here, it might not even take you 30 minutes sometimes, right? But like I said, nothing is cast on stone in Scrum. Scrum, Agile, all those things, they work for you. You don't work for them. Please, if you've not learned anything today, for your flexibility in Scrum, just always note that Agile, Scrum, Kanban, whatever it is, they work for you. You don't work for them. So you just make sure that you can suit this to your team properly. Don't cut corners or anything, but make them suit. Be as flexible as you can. So because they say 4 hours does not mean you lock your team up for 4 hours. That we must plan this sprint. Usually the only reason you can have a drag on is maybe your first sprint planning ever. You are new to it, maybe you are green grass or something. But subsequently, by the time you become a pro, you don't need to spend too much time. So for daily stand-up, it is 15 minutes every day. Yeah, sometimes it could be 5 minutes, you can even do it in 10 minutes, depending. But remember, we said no time wasting. Please don't keep your team in stand up for 30 minutes. That's time wasting. And always iterate within your team. When you know there's someone that is a talkative like me, just let the person know, you know that, 6 people needs to give a report or 8 people needs to give a report. And the first person speaking is already using 5 minutes. You know that there's Wahala. Yeah? So that kind of person, as a Scrum Master now, you should be able to have a quick chat with the person to say, or even say it within the team, not to, bring the person down, but just say there and there, guys. Remember, there are 8 people to give reports. Even if you want to cut this across everyone, nobody should exceed 2 minutes, right? If it's possible, you can just say 1 minute per person. So another 1 minute to be for feedback for that person in case the feedback is needed. So if everybody uses 2 minutes towards themselves, in 14 minutes you're done, for example. But there's some people their feedback might be very quick, can even be 30 seconds. But if you see one person going 3 minutes, 5 minutes, you need to cut the person with an Elmo. It depends on what you use in your team. In my team, for example, the agreement is somewhat like Elmo. Elmo is enough. Let's move on. So I don't know if you know these Sesame Street. There's one of the cartoon there that is Elmo. So we just use that acronym ELMO. Enough. Let's move on. So using Elmo, if somebody's talking too much, use Elmo to stop the person or something. Then for the refinement is done before the sprint. This is not done within the sprint. That's why we say it's not a ceremony for a sprint. It's done in the previous sprint. So you can never meet the current sprint. But of course, because of time frame, you still do it within a sprint. But if I'm doing a refinement now for this sprint I'm in, I'm doing it for next sprint. I'm not doing it for this sprint because this sprint has already been planned. I don't know if you get my gist, okay? So then sprint review, usually 2 hours. But like I said, it could be lesser. Do you want to mute yourself?
You guys replace
Ayo, mute yourself, thank you. So sprint review, like I said, that's the one you speak to your stakeholders. You see that in all the ceremonies, they are saying PO Scrum Master Developer, PO Scrum Master Developer, PO Scrum Master Developer. Please remember I said developers before you used to call them development team, but now we just call them developers, but it includes software testers, your developers, analysts, whether data or anything, cybersecurity, depending. Most times you will not find a cybersecurity guy in the team. Most times they work separately. Yeah, ideally. DAs, they also work separately because they are trying to give information to the company for something, but it also depends if you're doing a data migration project that you need to project some things, a data analyst can work with you. But these developers comprises of like every other role that is not a PO and an SM. So if you say how many, how many people do we have in the Scrum team as well, count of team, it will be the PO Scrum Master and then the developers. Every other person is a developer. Standalone. These roles can be more than 1, 2, 3, remember 10. And these 2 people are part of those 10, remember. Okay. So, but for the sake of the internship, you guys might be more than 10 within your team. Review, you see everybody's PO Scrum Master developer, PO Scrum Master, but review, we have stakeholders because we're going to give those bad guys the feedback of what we've done. They sent us message for 2 weeks, and we're now telling them the feedback of the message they sent us. That's the meaning of sprint review. Then retrospective, let's talk, let's crash it out. Usually for 1.5 hours within a 2-week sprint. I'm going to ask a question on this when it comes to the hours. Nobody should mess me up, okay? Thank you. I'm just playing. All right, so I'll use this to say the story before I go. So the first ceremony ever, the first ceremony in any sprint. It's called the sprint planning. So the sprint planning is the first sprint process, comprises of all these guys, yeah. And the truth is, for sprint planning, it's just within the team. Or if need be, because like I said, agile works for us. Ideally, you don't need to invite anybody. But if the team agrees they want to invite one person for a special clarification or something, you can invite, right? Maybe you're doing something and you need your stakeholders to, and you think the stakeholder, you're in an organization, you can invite them for a short space of time. They don't even need to stay throughout the ceremony. And just say, oh, please come in at 10 just to help us with some clarification. And you can do that. Yeah. But usually it's just your team that should be doing a sprint planning. It's the first ceremony of the sprint. Now, this happens day one of sprint. Guys, please note what I'm saying. This will help us with the remaining slide. The remaining slide is all what is here, right? So this is the first ceremony. Now, after day one, you don't need to do your daily stand-up on the day one because you're doing your sprint planning. Usually within around the same time, you'd have probably done your stand-up, right? Then from day 2 till the last day, you'll be doing your daily stand-up. Daily stand-up is 15 minutes. It's just where you go and check. So team members will come and synchronize. They'll just come and give their gist, ensure that people are doing the right things, ensure that people are doing it at the right time. Okay, how did you do the previous day? What action did you take? Did you achieve anything? What are you doing today? Or what do you hope to accomplish today? Anything relating to what you did yesterday and what you want to do today. Then you also ask, do you have any blocker? Is there something blocking your progress towards working? Is there any, those are the questions you ask in daily stand-up. Now with time, if I have asked my team, guys, I'm just saying it so that I don't bore people. If I've asked my team members that, what did you do yesterday? What did you do today? They all know the gist by now. We're now a team of 6 months, 1 year. They're still asking, what did you do yesterday? All I need to just say is, okay, maybe it's Ojali's turn. I just say, hi, Ojali. You okay? All right. Do you want to give us an update, please? Ojali knows what I'm asking for. Oh, Ojali knows, oh, yesterday I was able to complete, the task I mentioned on Then I met with Tom, remember the stakeholder for the clarification of this. Oh, and and today I'll be focused on doing the part B side of it to ensure that I'm able to do the validation of blah 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 blah. And Ojali is done within 30 seconds or within a minute. She has given her feedback of what she has done yesterday, today. And Ojali can at the end of the day just tell you, and yeah, I'm good to go. I'm able to work today. I don't have any blocker at the moment. I'm good. You're done with Ojali. Next person. So as a Scrum Master, you just call the next person. But guess what? When you're talking about facilitating in daily stand-up, it's not always Scrum Master. Sometimes the Scrum Master can just say, Ajishake, are you happy to facilitate today? Or Festus Ayo, Festus, are you able to facilitate today? Like that. And your team will always be willing to. You don't need to do pre-planning to say, I'll tell Festus that's against Thursday. No need. You are in a team, everybody should be comfortable within the space. The only time is if the person is doing your whole work for you that you can give up heads up that, oh, I'll need you to help with this. Maybe in my absence, complete absence, and I need somebody to help, with the retrospective to guide the team. Yes, I can give a pre-planned, please mute yourself, thank you. I can give a pre-planned heads up, oh, Ezekiel, you really want to help me with the retrospective for next spring because I'll be away on vacation or something, right? But if not, just there and there within my daily stand-up, I can just say, hey, anybody happy to share screen? It gives the team the freedom to be able to, speak anywhere. They can have good conversations with their stakeholders because they've been put in spotlight over and over again. But at least for these first few times when you're just getting to know your team, the stand-up, a Scrum Master can always, keep the
Allow
stand-up
me.
rolling and all.
Sorry,
Hi.
can I ask a question, please? Sorry, don't mind the background noise. The developers that are there, who are the people that comprise developers? Is it just the people that write the code?
No. That's what I'm saying. Before, we used to call them development team, but there's been an upgrade that we call it developers now, right? So the developers encompasses the team, right? So your analyst is there, whether be a DA, you're part of the team. Sometimes, like I said, DA is not there. Software tester, you're part of those developers. Developer Gongo himself, because you're going to have developers within your team, but they're Deji's team. Because for the internship, we don't train developers. right? We train developers in the advanced side of things just to be able to, have a good understanding of development work. So, but the developers that will be joining you guys, they are part of the GIS team. So we'll put them into the 2 teams for you guys to work with. Those ones are developers by name themselves. Well, you, a software tester, you're part of these developers. You, a BA, you're part of these developers. You, because you're doing the actual work. That's the meaning of developer. We that were doing the actual work. Let me not yab Scrum Masters too much because Deji will be excited. So Scrum Masters, you remember I told you that we're making sure things are happening. We're making sure there's smooth sale of this work. Honestly, really, can you drive from where you are right now to an unknown destination without a map, without something guiding you? That's the Scrum Master role. We're guiding you. So Scrum Masters, but you're not doing the actual work. I'm just guiding the people doing the actual work. The PO2, I'm just coming to tell you, do this, do this, do this, do this, because this is what we've been told to do. Where it's like the middleman between the stakeholder and the team. That's the PO. They are not doing the actual work. Those 2 people in the team, they are not doing actual work, but they are I don't know the best word to use that. Koshimani, you can't but have them within the team, right? A team that doesn't have both, the probability you have a good accident, fatal one, is waiting for you, right? Most times. So then developer is every other team member that is doing the actual work, sawing their hands, developing, checking, doing the testing. Yeah. Question answered, Ezekiel? You okay?
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so we've spoken about the daily stand-up. Now I'm still going to skip the refinement because I want to save it for the last. Remember, first day of sprint, day 2 to the end of sprint. Now, last day of sprint, you really do not need to have your stand-up. Yeah. Last day of sprint, sprint review. We speak to the stakeholders. This is what we've done in those 2 weeks. What say you? Then they give us the feedback. Carry on, we are doing well. Stop here. Change this one, remove that one. You go back and adapt. Remember the pillars of Scrum: transparency, inspection, adaptation. Go back and adapt the things they've corrected and you move forward. Money is not wasted, time is not wasted, because it's different if you have done the thing for 3 months. You only did it for 2 weeks and somebody's correcting you already. You can quickly fix, it can be a quick fix of a day self, and we have moved on, right? So that's sprint review. It's done on the last day of sprint. So I'll give an example. If you do this by, let's say, for example, 10 a.m. on the last day of sprint, and you finish by 12, remember we said 2 hours, for example. Most times it can be lesser, but I'm just saying 2 hours, for example, you finish. That means you finish by 12. The team can take a break, go for their lunch, whatever, come back by 1. If they want to delve into the retrospective, that's fine. They can even wait till 2 and say, okay, you know what, let's do our retrospective from 2 to 3:30, for example. So now, the last day of sprint, they do the sprint review. And after the sprint review, the same last day of sprint, we now retrospect on all these other things we've done. So we retrospect, check the dictionary meaning of retrospect, flashback, just throw back to just check what has happened. Yeah, throw back in the last 2 weeks. I'm not saying you should retrospect for 10 years ago. So retrospect for just these last 2 weeks we just finished. We retrospect and find a way to help the team. If you need to assign to anyone within the team to follow up on something, people will follow up and get the things done. This is the whole Scrum ceremonies. Now I'm coming back to the middleman, which is the sprint refinement. During the course of the sprint, we don't do refinement, but we will do it still during the course of the sprint because sprint follows each other, right? But we're doing it against the future sprint. Refinement is similar to BAs that work ahead of the sprint, same as refinement, you work ahead. So in refinement, instead of coming on the day of the stand-up to figure out some things that we're talking about, during refinement, you're doing almost the same thing you're supposed to be doing in sprint planning, but this time around, you are refining from scratch. Yeah. So you are doing all those product backlog items. You will sit down, process it, add details, remove, put description, check the size, check this, is it big enough? Is it small enough? Remember stories. Remember I said stories are small chunk of work you want to do. So if you put a story there and the story is too big enough, let's break it down. Is there clarity as to what we need to do? Let's clarify. Do we need to? It's actually at this point you might actually need to invite a stakeholder to say, oh, please come and clarify. But at really, the person that should be clarifying to you is this bad guy here, the PO. It should be the one clarifying most of the things. Or if need be, If need be, we can invite a third party, but usually we don't. We just ask the PO, hold the PO on the shirt to clarify. So remember, we are doing this as against next sprint. So these are the whole Scrum ceremonies. Every other thing I'm taking out outside of here is relating to this. What's the time? All right. So let's do sprinting now. All right. So some of the things, remember I already told you guys that if you want to do a meeting, a ceremony, it doesn't mean you just go bam, I just want to do ceremony like that. Always plan. Ensure you time box. Not the way you say people come for 15 minutes meeting, you keep them for 2 hours. Come for 1 hour meeting, you keep them for 50 hours. It doesn't work like that. Try and work within time box so you can finish. Like what Olawumi is doing now. I'm already exceeding 10 o'clock. Well, for good reasons, because you guys chopped off my time too, right? Because I slated 1.5 hours for this call. But you guys chopped off my own 30 minutes, so I'm chopping off your own back. So, but whatever it is, remember, if you also really listen to that Mr. Lash, I've been saying we want to make sure that we time box, finish on time, always time box your meeting. So if you have an agenda, oh, if introduction of 5 minutes, this one 10 minutes, it keeps you in shape of what you need to do. Always make sure don't do over familiarity. Time box your work. Make sure that it's purpose driven. It has value at the end of the day. You prepare for it, and the team is happy for it. They accept what you have done, right? So that's that. So what is sprint planning? Remember, I said it's the first event of the sprint. So sprint planning is where the team determines the product backlog items that they would take into the sprint, and then they will have to discuss. So this is the real part of you need to plan before you start. First off, your video is on. You need to plan before you start. Yeah. So just make sure that you do a proper sprint planning. This team agrees on what they need to do. The team agrees that okay, we're doing this 1, 2, 3. Remember those 1, 2, 3 that we put there. 1, 2, 3. Please, because I've been saying 3 since, it doesn't mean it's only 3 tickets you take in. Please, you can do 5, you can do 10, you can do 20 if you have the capacity, depending on what the team agrees on. Yeah. So for sprint planning, very first event, make sure that you do your initial plan for your product backlog item. So it's what you plan in this sprint planning that becomes your sprint backlog. When you've agreed on all the things you want to work on, it becomes your sprint backlog. Right, moving on. So importance of daily stand-up. Remember, the importance is it reduces the risk of failure because you have planned. If you plan, you cannot fail easily now. Then understanding the scope of work you want to do. You see what you want to deliver to that customer is in that sprint planning. People will finish cooking the whole meal. Okay, what do we want to do? I want to do this landing page. Want to put the header for the person. This is the one we want to do first. Oh yeah, go. We do show the person the stakeholder likes it. Give a thumbs up. Oh yeah, go and do the next thing. Bam. The next sprint say okay, want to do the footer. I want to do the login. Want to do this one. We put do bam. See, you like it? Yes, I like it. Yes, I don't like it. In between, there's a lot going on in between this, but you get to understand as you go. No pressure. So I always like to put a bit of picture so you understand. Remember the backlog, product backlog, it becomes you do your sprint meeting. This backlog is product backlog. All the to-dos, everything we think we want to do, you see it comes in different shapes and sizes. Yeah, how big is it? How big, like that. They will come discuss as a team, we plan, then it becomes our sprint backlog. You see, this team are even taking 12 tickets. So they break it down into their stories, stats, and whatever they want to do. Yeah. So this is all about sprint planning. You see that it's easy, yeah? Sprint planning. But don't worry, just so you know, the team is going to do a demo for you guys. Ideally, it should be tomorrow, but it has been adjourned to Thursday because we want to put something else for tomorrow. We'll do a demo for you guys. So you see exactly all this talk that Olawumi is speaking today. You see everything when they come show you tomorrow. All right, on Thursday rather. So that's sprint planning. Now, daily stand-up. Now, you see, daily stand-up is one of my favorite meetings. And the reason is just because every day I have an update of what my team is doing. You see these guys here? I know this is a Scrum meeting. You see these guys here? This is almost like a Kanban. This is a Kanban style visualization. It's a Kanban style. If it was Scrum, passe, probably do that on a laptop, trying to, but it's the same thing. Just visualizing the work you're doing. So you see these 3 guys. Let's say this column is for this lady, this column is for this column. They're just showing the amount of work you're doing. What does this tell me? What does this tell me? This person that is blank here. Can somebody surprise me? Somebody please just surprise me. I'll buy you audio coffee. Why do you think this place is blank? Who can guess why this person might have put this place blank?
Just clear that work.
Okay, good attempt. Any other person? Why do you think this place is blank? Why do you think this place is blank? Anybody can help me, including admin. Anybody can help me. Anybody can help me. Nice try, Tisha, but why do you think this place is blank? See, this girl has now.
Maybe,
This guy
maybe
has.
she has moved the work from developer house to quality hand, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, let me.
I think she's yet to update the team
Okay.
on what she did on that day.
It could be any of what you guys have said so far. It could be any of it can even be what Adisha has said. But think about it. Let's say this is sprint 1, this is sprint 2, this is sprint 3. See this girl, sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, right? Let's assume this sprint 1. Why do you think this girl has her own blank?
Because she
I
did
don't think she's
nothing.
been doing her work.
What?
I don't think she's been doing her work. So she's not working on the user
Well, it's
story.
let me take you back one step, so I probably you get the gist. So I've done this. We're planning ahead, something. So we're currently in sprint 1. Let's say we're still working on sprint 1, but I've already put my sprint 2 blank and I put work in sprint 3. These 3 guys, they put in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Why do you think I skipped this? One of the major popular reasons that I skipped this.
Unless they have blockers. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. I like all the ideas. Funny enough, it can be any of it. But Crazy Woman wants to believe that you see this chick here, she's probably going to be on vacation in this period. So she's not putting any work to herself. So for 2 weeks, she might be out of office. So do you want to put work for someone that is out of office? Now that's where we've been shouting capacity since. Capacity, do we have the capacity to do the work? So in this sprint 2, they are only going to work on 6 tickets because this lady is away. She's going to be away. But for this sprint 1, they are doing 9 tickets because they are all around. They all have the capacity and the technical skills to do it. Sprint 2, this lady is away. This one is around. This one is around. This one is. They are all around for the next sprint. So that's the idea. But funny enough, for all you care, in real life, aside what I've read so far, but in real life, it might be that for all you care, they drag that to another team to do something for a sprint. In real life, it could be anything, but she's not available to do any work at this period. That's the long and short. So the real thing I was actually looking for is that she's not available to do any work at this time. So it might be that she's been posted somewhere else for just 2 sprints to help, or she might be sitting in for someone for 2 weeks for a team that needs it more, or it can be she's on vacation for this period, but she's not going to be available for this team. So we need to be very. So for Scrum ceremonies now, thanks everyone for all the attempts. I love that. Really, everybody. Funny enough, you might think your answer was not right, but it all made sense. I've learned very well that most times when you give answers to questions, most times they make sense. So thank you everybody for what you've shared. So for daily stand-up, very brief. Remember we said 15 minutes. The reason why we always say same place is so prior now, the reason they call it daily stand-up, I always like to let people know so you have an idea why they call it daily stand-up. So pre-COVID, everybody goes to work. So when you're at work, all of you probably come to a room or you just stand up on your decks and have a short, quick meeting. Because if you go to a room to sit down, you might extend more than the 15 minutes. People will talk. But if you're standing on your feet and just say, hey, everybody just stands up on their cubicle, you just stand up. Oh, okay. So what's your plan for today? Gives the updates. Person 2 gives update. Very, 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 very. And then everybody sits down. The reason for same place is so that you can always remember where it is. You're not going to be checking calendar. Are we doing it in first floor today? Oh, second floor tomorrow. Third floor today. It makes people skip the meeting at the end of the day. But if not, same place, same time, usually on your seat there and there, just stand up on your seat and do. Same time, so it's in my head that every 10 a.m. is my stand or every 9 a.m. is my stand up. But if it's 9 a.m. today, tomorrow 2:15, next tomorrow 1 p.m., you see, in 1 week, you will lose all your team members. Nobody will be coming for stand up anymore. But if the same place, even if somebody's booking a meeting for you, you can imagine somebody's booking a meeting for you. Like, please, can we have a meeting on Thursday by 11? You go by 9 a.m. You tell them, no, it's usually my stand up time. Can we make it 9:15? Because it's stuck in your head that, this time will protect you with all children. But between you and I, sometimes there are some inevitable calls. Let's say you're having a call with 10 people, for example, and 9 of them are available for this 9 o'clock. That team member will probably just send an apology. Sorry, apologies, guys. I have another call. within this period, but it's fine. And usually when the team member does that, they put, I have no blocker, I'm able to walk through this. You put a quick update, one sentence. You don't need to say all the history of when Jesus was born and everything. Just quick sentence. But sometimes the team member might can be absent. But please, anytime you're going to be absent from any call, make sure you drop, a note, just a sentence. Hi guys, I'm unavailable today. I have a clash call. But please do not put unavailability because you think you can do it. Please try and be attending all the calls. All right, so facilitated by Scrum Master, that's usually the trend. But like I said, these days things are more, sassy. Can't tell any of the team members to go ahead, but this is the main anchor of the daily stand-up, yeah, or even all the ceremonies, by the way. So focus question, remember what you did yesterday, what you did today, if you have any blockers. So quick exchange of vital information, check if you have obstacles, used to expect each other, that's the inspection, transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Remember I mentioned this stand-up is one of them too. Alrighty, thank you. Next slide, please. What's the time? All right. So importance of daily stand-up, we've said everything. Helps to inspect ourselves, makes everybody transparent, collaboration, pair accountability. Remember when I said if I say I've done A today, I'm doing A tomorrow, I'm doing A next tomorrow. Somebody will ask me, Madam, what's going on? So don't say it as I said that, Madam. So, oh hi Ola, you've been saying you're gonna work on so. Is there any impediment? What's going on? Do you want to then Ola probably will explain better and will be conscious that it's true, I've been saying only this, so I need to work better. It helps people, then it helps us self-organize amongst other things. So that's why daily stand-up is very important. We'll go to sprint review. I've said everything you really need to know about sprint review. It's just a place to get constructive feedback from stakeholders about what you guys have accomplished during the course of the iteration, right? So it's just for you to review what you've done. Please, you want to mute yourself, please? Please mute yourselves. Please mute yourselves. Thank you. So the review, it provides a place for the team to present the work they've completed. It also helps the team and buff their ego also, So this is what we've done. It's really beautiful. You can imagine trying to build a website for a customer, or maybe just to help them with a new process within the organization. And you're seeing it flesh up, sprint 1, flesh up sprint 2. Even you will be proud as a team that, we are accomplishing this. It helps, just make everyone feel better, right? So importance, helps to update, helps to fit the user's need. You understand? The customer, will give feedback and everything. Will test. Remember the QAs, the software testers, they will test, make sure that it fits the needs of the user. We inspect the outcome of the sprint. It's very, very important. No, none of this ceremony, that you just take with levity. They're all important. Remember our shine bubble, the retrospective, fun. So there are different retrospective templates that you can use. If you even go to Google or it's always better not to use Google for such. It's better to use a whiteboard or something where you can find templates within that whiteboard for an agile retrospective. It helps just put some of this in place. So this one now you're wondering what's this, right? So this is Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm is just saying things that are pulling the team down. So you see this one is saying letting code fall behind, conflicting images. This one is saying fragmented writing and all. So people are saying different things. People will usually use the same color of ticket, so we know that purple is Ojale, that boy is yellow, Ezekiel is blue, like that. So with that, you can just write people. I'll show you, in further pictures. Now this is hot hair, the things that is making us, do well. Division of labor, division of tasks, and the information section is really helping the team. Some of the things that are also pulling us down: lack of cohesion, continued lack of Zen Hub. Remember, I told you some application will just be messing up, communication gap. So I think there's sunshine. Sunshines are more like, positive, but at the same time, ideas, and sometimes also things that are making us do well too, right? So ideas start early. If the team starts early, let's start documenting our code. Those are the ideas. So anything you do, there are different formats. You see some mad, it can be mad, sad, glad, what we are mad about, what we are happy and glad about, what we are this. So different retrospective. type retrospective, you'll be tired of the format itself. Different items of retrospective. So retrospective, on the flip side, is the team comes back to reflect on the past so that they can improve on the future. That's the idea of retrospective. So it's a meeting held at the end of each sprint. Remember, I told you it's the very last meeting of a sprint, where each sprint team member reflects on their past sprint and identify ways to improve their processes and practices. So the Scrum ceremony helps to find and figure out ways to improve the team and ways to make things better. Usually they start with an icebreaker or a retro game. I'll show us everything done within 1.5 hours to 2 hours in worst case scenario. So importance of retrospective, helps the team plan for next sprint, inspect all their activities. It's an opportunity to evaluate what they are doing, if they are working effectively as a team, if they're able to communicate, what went well, what didn't go well. It helps them just improve effectiveness as a whole. Yeah. It also allows team members to share their opinions freely. Now, there's a lot around retrospective that I've not mentioned. Sometimes there are some people that are shy. Sometimes, like for example, now Adedapo has annoyed me now, and I want to call out Adedapo. Remember, we're in a work environment. I can't just say, Adedapo did me bad. You can't really do that because we'll lose Adedapo after a while. Adedapo will probably go back to shell. If it's defensive, you shout before you know there's a conflict, there's friction. You understand? So sometimes some team go anonymous so that they can call out Adedapo in full with their full chest. So you go anonymous. But the truth is, I always advise people, put your team in a place that you don't need to be anonymous. If I have an issue with Adedapo, I should be able to speak freely to Adedapo in a non-rude way. Hi Adedapo. Sorry, I was gonna tell you earlier about, if possible, you can even have that discussion outside of the retrospective with Adedapo, for crying out loud. So you're able to be free to be able to talk to each other. So that's the idea of having a good team. But if I'm going to do that within the ritual, I'll be very subtle with Adedapo. Hi Adedapo, I was trying to tell you to help with, maybe like an input on this, and it took you a while, which impeded my work for a while. But subsequently, I don't know if there's a better way for me to catch your time, there and there, I'm saying that Adedapo did not help me, but I'm looking for that subtle way to just say, I'm just trying to. But they will say, oh, apologies, I was very overwhelmed with this. Because you have even said it out in the crowd, most likely if you ask Adedapo next week, Adedapo will likely give you his time, especially when you've asked him there and there. Is there a better way to approach you for subsequent so I can get your time to explain this? Because Adedapo is my lead QA at this time, or my lead B, and I need some input that he delayed giving me for one reason or the other. So just saying things way that you can put your team in a position that everybody can speak freely. I just thought to mention, because sometimes you see some teams going anonymous and no, now we're way past that. People should be able to speak freely within the team. So retro exercise, I always like to put this one, but for reasons beyond that, I'll just keep it today. But just look at it. If you had a superpower, or if you're a superhero in relations to the time you have spent within these last 2 weeks in BlueSky, what would it be, right? I always like to probably just choose that guy on the wheelchair in X-Men. I always forget his name because the guy his brain is on fire, that kind of thing. So what superpower do you have? For me, I also want to be able to teleport or something, or have it be a brainiac that I can put everything in my head, anything. So but I'll just keep this exercise. Usually it's always interactive when people give their ideas, but let's see. Other icebreakers, I always like to put this one too. If you had $1 million, what would you do with it? How would you spend it? I always get to ask my team this, and once in a while you see people going crazy ideas. $1 million, I'll first take 1 month vacation. I don't care what the team says. I'm going away for 1 month because I need to plan how to spend my 1 million. And one day we'll not do it, 2 days we'll not do it. We'll just say some silly things and break down how we want to spend it. This is like an icebreaker. You can do this within 5 minutes within the team. So that's that. Now, this is just a wheel that people use for retrospective. Maybe now I want to ask this question that I had here. I'll just wheel the names of the people here. Oh, hi, Larry. Maybe once I wheel and it drops on Damisola. Okay, it was even on Damisola. Damisola said, I didn't even notice it was on you. So we asked Damisola, so if you had $1 million, what are you going to do? Just to help in case we have teams that are not interacting and all that. That's the reason sometimes. But sometimes if your team are always willing to say, I'm going next, you don't even need a wheel. But the wheel just keeps things a bit interesting when you're anticipating who to even come on. Then it comes the time, the whole team will shout, So now tell us, I can do anything just to keep things really. I told you, perspective is one of the fun ceremonies. Spot the difference. They just tell you. I don't know why, for reasons beyond me, I should have looked at this thing so I can answer people. So spot the difference. The team will just say, okay, Ola, it's your turn. Spot the difference. You have 30 seconds to spot 5 differences. So I go, okay, what's this one? But there is retrospective, right? So just say, okay, we have a green snake, we have a yellow snake. That's one. And what else? Oh, this one I do. Okay, there's a stone here. There's no stone here. Two. What else? What else? What else? Come on, this thing is bad. Okay, there's one white here. There's none here. What else? Three. Sorry, my 30 seconds is over. So you see people screaming and counting down for you. Just interactive game. Everybody will go around and pick something. So you have a Scrum Master probably would have prepared this, have like 10, if I'm 10 in my team, can even prepare 20 pictures. They'll just spot the difference. Just go around. 30 seconds, people are done. Very fast, just to keep the team, lively. It could be tongue twisters. But I say it 5 times. She sells seashells in the seashell. Even me, I can't even say the first one. She sells seashells in the seashell. She sells anything just to keep the team lively. Blah, 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 blah. People are speaking. How much would they would chuck? How much would they would chuck? Anything. People will laugh, giggle. Anything you want just to spice up the team. And please, I will reiterate again. All these icebreaker games, tongue twister, this is not the main reason for retrospective. It's just to relax after a 2 weeks long hustle. You guys will relax the first 20 minutes or 30 minutes of the ritual. Then face the main ritual, which for some team will look like something like this. What went well? What didn't go well? Action plan, right? You should never feel your actions because actions are the things you take at the end, right? So this one will be blank. So the team will put all what went well within the sprint, all what did not go well. Is intentional for it to be blurry, don't worry. So all what went well within the sprint, what did not go well. This is another type of retrospective. What should we continue doing? What should we stop doing? What should we start doing? And then we'll take the action plans again. So it depends. This is one method. This is another method. This is another method. Remember the hot air balloon I showed you? Okay, I think I also have another hot air balloon. Okay, this is one of my favorites, yeah, because it gives me, for me, after I've asked bright ideas, after I've asked what is pushing us along, what the obstacles are, I always like to recognize people. Oh, Wajali was very fantastic. Wajali, your name is in trouble this sprint. Oh, you're very fantastic this sprint. Sorry. Apologies. So, I'll just put, oh, Ajali, you were very fantastic. You helped with the brown bar session. Hi, Ajali, took me through this. No, in fact, I've changed my mind. From now, I'm not calling Ajali's name again. Give me names. Okay, I remember. Ayo did this, did that, Oh, Jackmo did this, did that, Oh, this one, that's the whole idea of all this, I always like to always recognize people. You cannot have a 2 weeks hard work. So you cannot have worked hard for 2 weeks and not get some recommendations within your team. It keeps the team happy. So you can imagine if I've said, oh, Ayo did a very solid front back session. We learned that somebody else can go, oh yeah, it was very fantastic session. Thanks, Ayo. Please, do you think Ayo will not go back and go and get ready for another session and ready to finish us in the team? Because whether we like to or yes, by nature, we like praises a little bit, right? It helps us, propels us when you're recognized for the hard work you have done. You can imagine doing a lot of hard work, nobody notices, nobody recognizes. So whatever you can, just make sure that you keep your team interested in what is going on. Yeah. All right. Different types. I'm just showing us different types of retrospective. So you not think it's only the close the door, please. You not think it's only the what went well, what didn't go well, blah blah blah. There are different types. This one is bros, is also successes within the team. But when you have tons that are tricking you ahead, what do you think? What are the challenges? Different things. Different things. Apologies, guys. I have a stakeholder here trying to take up my time. Sorry, apologies. Okay. Don't worry, I get this every time I take this session. I always have stakeholders at my study door trying to open the door. Apologies once again. All right. So yeah, just showing you different perspective. This one always caused World War II. Well, I'll not rely on this because you can imagine putting Chelsea as glad. Why are we glad to have Chelsea here? Your team will almost nearly die before they even say they want to continue with this. You understand? So yeah. So that's that. So I now did a good example of just a mini example. Remember I was telling you about coloring of the tickets. Say, for example, use a whiteboard. You see, anything we see, this is Abibola saying she's already. This is Abibola secret, this is Abibola, this is Abibola, this is Abibola. So with this, I'll know. See, Abibola is saying Moji for teaching us Azure. Thank you, Abby, for being awesome. That's from Moji. You know, like that. So with this, we know who is talking. So once I'm even reading through, once I see anything already, I know it's this guy. Once I see anything greenish or what's this color, I'll say, oh, this is all our handling impediments, you know, like that. All those kind of things. Then at the end of the day, we'll now come and say, okay, trading day on Agile, because we said, let's have a session on Agile ways of working. So because of that, we now decided to take it as an action plan. Say, okay, you know what? Let's do a training day on Agile. So that's an action item. So somebody says handling impediments. So we can say, okay, how do we disseminate information? How do we do, you know, this, we take it back. Like going for team bonding, maybe there was team outing, somebody says, this is an idea, team outing. So, okay, you know what, let's go for a team bonding meeting, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's the idea, Sha. I just thought to quickly show us, you know, how it really looks like. Now, there are different tools that you can use for retrospective, Miro, Mural, Lucid. The one I just showed you was actually from Lucid's pack. There's Metimeter, there's Azure DevOps. You can do it actually inside your Azure DevOps. You can do retrospective in it. So that's that. The refinements. So remember I spoke about refinements, you know, product backlog refinements, that's what we call it. So it's a process for you to add, remove, do anything, details. It's more like when you sit down and grind. Refinement is about refine. You see, I like Agile. It always gives us the exact word in English. When we say refinement, we refine. What we mean is we're trying to make it look good. When you refine something, we're trying to make it look good. That's the idea of refinement. So refinement, the team looks for the product, the team looks at the product backlog and decides whether they want to further decompose those requirements that the PO has given us, right? You remember the PO, the BAs must have gone to elicit requirements, you know, either from stakeholders with the PO and all that. So when they do that, do we want to break it further? Just to prepare ahead of the following sprint. That's refinement. Remember, refinement is from the past. Just to prepare ahead of the following sprint. So it's just continuous process for the team to have a good collection of story ahead of the sprint planning. Yeah, you have good stories ready for the sprint planning. So when you get to sprint planning, it's not when you just start beating or decomposing or breaking further, because you've done all those during the refinement stage. Remember when the potter is trying to make a clay pot, they say when they refine it to make it look good, it starts from a rough. So the rough is this refinement. We refine it to look good. Then when we're ready to start using it, it's ready. So we just, you know, work with it. So that's the idea. So the PO, remember, I've been speaking about prioritization. Prioritization is just, you know, the more important things on top, the less important things below. Simple ways of working. Apologies about my background noise. Please give me 30 seconds. You want to pause? So that
Okay, as we are waiting for Olawumi,
I'm back.
all right, good, thank you.
I'm back. Apologies. My stakeholder was crying, and I was hoping that the background noise was not disturbing us. Thank you. All right. So we just go for that. So the PO prioritizes the user story. I've spoken about prioritization, and then we also do estimation, severity, those kind of things. So estimation now is the effort it takes us to do something, right? The effort it takes the team, the effort it will take you to finish up that work. Now, in that effort, when you want to estimate, it's not time or anything, but the effort actually includes the risk, your technical know-how, a bit of time, the value you want to achieve. Oh, apologies. Thank you. Do you want to go ahead, please?
Okay, yeah, no problem, that's fine. Yeah, so I think we've spoken about some ceremonies, right? So maybe take a pause and I will take a few questions for anyone that, yeah. Maybe, and after that, maybe I'll ask one question. Do we have any question? Okay, so let me ask an interview question, actually. So out of all the ceremonies that Olawumi has actually shared right now, which one would you prefer? Which one would be your best one? This is not a right or wrong answer. Yeah, you need to know to kind of put your answer across and say why do you get. So which one will you go for? Is it the retro? Is it the refinement? Is it daily stand-up? Yeah. Or is it the demo? Right. Which one would you go for? Does anyone want to try?
I think I would like the retro.
Okay, the retro. Why?
Yeah, I think the retro help everybody to loosen up,
Okay.
and yeah, you tend to know people more, especially if you're just forming the team or you are new to the team. So
Okay.
retro helps you to know people beyond the surface level or just the job at hand. You tend to know people more.
All
I
right.
think I like that one.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Zeke. And Olaumi told us what she likes anyway. So hopefully we still remember what our favorite one is. Ojali, please.
My favorite one would be the sprint review
Okay. Well,
because that's when you showcase all the work you've done and hoping that the stakeholders are pleased with the products you have come up with and that it meets the business requirements. Because if they don't appreciate the work done, it means you're not even supposed to even be, working. They shouldn't even be paying you in the first place. So I would take the sprint review. That's
okay.
the result of the work I've done
Okay. Cool.
with my
Cool.
team.
That is brilliant. Okay. So any other person?
Yeah, I think for me, I would take the planning review. This one, I could get the roadmap of where we are going, what do we want to do. I can get first-hand information as per what we want to do. So I will not be in position of be in the wood. We have the first-hand information overview and the roadmap of where we are going, what the journey we want to embark on, what effort does it require for us to accomplish that. So that would be one I would take. And if I will have the option to take second one, I will take the retrospective because we can look back, what have we done better as a good practice that we can sustain and keep for further reiteration, and also what have we done wrong that we can correct again, that we can improve.
Okay. Cool.
Those are my points. Yeah.
We can see the flavor there. So Ojali is saying, yeah, of course, the review is more important. That's where I would showcase what we've done. And Ajisabe is saying, yeah, if you don't plan, you fail. If you fail to plan, you're already failing anyway. So I will plan first anyway. Yeah, like I said, there is no right or wrong, right? You have to, and this is an interview question anyway. So Emmanuel.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, good evening all. Virtually all the events are all important, every one of them, because one leads to one, the other move to the other one. You can't get into retro without doing the refinement, daily stand-up and there, but in a nutshell, the retrospective is what really determines, did we deliver the value? What we deliver, does it make customer happy? Do we deliver quality? Because that is at the end of the whole thing. It is not about we, it is about delivering the problem. So at the end of it, that is where we sit at the retro to say, okay, what have we done well? What we didn't do well? So from the retro also, we celebrate our wins if we've done anything good or whatever we have done. So the retro to me is one of the most important, but the other ones are also important. We can't do without them. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Deji.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. You allow me, maybe I've hijacked your session. Sorry. I like how Emmanuel started.
Yes.
I wanted to say that's how we start. But however, there's a little twist in that which I'm going to correct anyway. So yeah, so the best way to start this is to actually establish that all the ceremonies are important. In fact, you need to do them, right? But if I was to choose one that's more important than the other, which I don't want to, but if I was to choose one, then I will go for daily stand-up because, yeah, that is what Allow Me said. Allow Me loves daily stand-up, right? So for me, I would then maybe align with, okay, review is what I like because that shows what we've delivered. If we don't deliver anything, then we are you also argue that, okay, who pays the piper dictate the tune, right? So if you're not able to deliver and showcase something to the stakeholders, then we might not be able to do the next sprint anyway, because they might just say, oh, let's sack all of them. Do you get it now? To be there, like I said, there is no right or wrong answers in all this. It's just how you are able to motivate it. Do you get it now? So, and to actually put your point across. But one thing from what Emmanuel said, one thing I will not do, right, is to make it very academic to stand low, say, okay, yeah, they are important. That's correct, check. But to say that this is the most important one, right? I would say in my own view, do you get it now? So that you are not standing in front of Olawumi that has made up his decision to say, for me, I like daily stand-up. And you are telling Olawumi that the retro is the best. You've already lost her. So, but you will say, based on your view and your opinion, this is the best ceremony. Do you get it now? Before I pass it to Olawumi, I will choose the question once again. If you are asked to do away with one of the ceremony, which one is it going to be? That's another switch. Maybe we can discuss that one later.
Ha 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 ha.
All right, over to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you jumping in. Thank you. And thanks to all the fantastic answers. It's as if all of you had cheat sheets. Thank you. That was beautiful. But you're starting for Emmanuel perfect. And please take up all the corrections that has been done given out rather. So really you see that in my future slides shortly. Really, please make sure you don't go too academic. Just make sure you let them know all of them are very important, but you pick your best poison. Like me, I always like stand up because it keeps me abreast of the situation. Really, I know what is happening step by step. Like if there's any quick failure, I can quickly hijack it and correct it because I already have an idea, what's going on a daily basis. So yeah, so everybody has different reasons why they pick any ceremony. And you can ask me next tomorrow and I'll change my mind and say, okay, it's the ritual that's my best baby right now, depending. I enjoy the ritual the most. If you tell me which sprint do I enjoy the most, I enjoy the ritual the most because my team is very fantastic when it comes to retrospective. Oh, the first 30 minutes is always crazy. So you just pick yours. So all right, back to refinement. So, I will not take us through things that are not, I'll leave the DOR, DOD side of things for the BAs to speak about, but it just helps us with clear acceptance criteria. DOR means definition of ready, DOD is definition of done, just defining all the boundaries of an increment and all that. That's DOD. So, and DOD happens, at the end of the sprint. DOR happens before you even start the sprint. Is that story ready? That's this simple words. Is that story ready? Do we accept that that story is ready for us to put into sprint? For example, if I'm waiting for a data from somebody and they've not given me, why do I want to put that story into sprint? It's not ready to start, right? It has not met the invest criteria. I'm mentioning these things because I know that the previous tutors have mentioned the invest criteria. In fact, I know that Uzo broke it down, so I'm not even going to spend a minute on that slide when I get there. So then the DOD is definition of done. That happens at the end of sprint. Please note the two. That's once you have that small understanding that DOR is before we start sprint, DOD is when we are done with the sprint, right? It helps you already start having an understanding definition of ready. So I always use example of my husband, for example, as a Nigerian woman, if I finish making soup and everything, and I've done if I've wrapped it or the amala or poundo, and I say, honey, food is ready. I'm talking to Breeze, so it's not ready because it has not made definition of ready for my husband. However, if I dish that soup inside a bowl, put all the rishi on it, put it on the dining, put the pounded yam or whatever, put it beside it, put his feck. He doesn't even like using water. Put his feck beside it, and he has a particular feck that he likes. You put the feck beside it and put maybe a glass of water. In fact, the water is not compulsory for my husband. He can get up and get water himself. But if you do all those other parts, and you're not telling honey, food is ready, he can drop his PS5 or he's coding or whatever he's doing and come and meet you that yes, food is ready. It has met his own definition of ready. That's before he eats. It has met the definition of ready. Now, when he finishes all the food in the plate and everything, and is ready to, wash the dish or drop the dish or something, that's where the done part of it is, but I'll not use that example as definition of done. But I'm just trying to say interpretation of definition of ready is different for different people. So as a team, you need to sit down and agree on what your definition of ready is. Once you do that, you also do for definition of done. Once you have that agreement within the team, then you'll be able to refer to it in future if anything occurs that you want to point to that, oh, this story hasn't really met definition of done. Definition of done for some people will be, pointing out PO has looked at it and reviewed it. The stakeholders have done their own review. UAT testing has been done on it, or maybe unit testing or whatever it is. Everybody has different definitions of all those things. So you agree as a team what your DOR, DOD, acceptance criteria, and everything. But acceptance criteria, that one is different. But don't worry, we'll take it through all this. I don't want to waste too much time on this, which I have already. So importance of refinement, just keep the backlog up to date, and the PBI is prepared for next sprint. Remember, I told you are working ahead in the future. Please, some of these things I'm stressing it so that it will stick. Not because I like repetition. If you hear something 2, 3 times, you understand. Refinement, you're working for the future. So you see that this one is already telling you next sprint. It's not for this sprint. If I'm doing a refinement today, right now, it's not for this sprint I mean, it's for the future sprint. Now, most times they do refinements once within the sprint, but something can do twice, depending. Rather than spending 2 straight hours or something trying to refine, you can just do 1 hour here, 1 hour here, or 30 minutes here, 1 hour here, depending, just to get. But most times it's always good to do it just at least once within the sprint. And it's always good to have a fixed date too, so that it's also at the back of the people's mind that they want to have that meeting. So just getting ready for next sprint, eliminating any chaos and all that keeps the team updated and all. That's the reason for the refinement. And remember to help you break down stories. If you want to break down stories further, anything you want to do, that's the idea of refinement. And that's why it's very, very important to have the refinement. And also remember, it's not officially part of the um, Scrum ceremonies, but it is a Scrum ceremony. Yeah. So, invest criteria, I told you I'll not spend 1 minute on this because Uzo did justice to this. Every story must be standalone. If I need to wait on another story to be able to do, I'm on my own. Yeah. So it doesn't really make sense if I need to wait for that negotiable. I should be able to negotiate the story. Should I take this? Should I do it? Should I break it down? Should I do it? Valuable must be something of value for the customer. I can't just put any story into the sprint that is not adding value to anyone, right? It has to be valuable. It has to be estimable by the development team. The development team should be able to say, okay, this is how much effort it's going to take me to do this. That story should be small chunk of work. Remember, I said it over and over again. It should be small enough to be able to do within a sprint, and it should be testable. If you do a story that our honorable software testers, they cannot test it. So what's the use now? How would they sign off if we cannot test the story? How would we be able to say, okay, this story has met all what it needs to, this story is good enough? Or you say you want to make a website sign in alphanumeric, and someone just goes, bang, 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 put only numbers or put only alphabets, and it goes through. So what have you tested? What have you done on it? So you need to make sure that your stories are testable and are reliable at the end of the day before we can say, okay, we've completed that story. So remember, I said this journey earlier and I was going to bring it up again. And the reason is because I always say this is the whole Scrum at a glance. Maybe to make a bit more sense now, remember the stakeholders, they speak to the middleman, who is the PO. The PO comes to the team, and the PAs, they write out the list of all the things the team can thinks they can do right on that particular story. It doesn't mean they're ready to do everything right now, but all what we think we can do as much as we can. Remember, it's a live document. When I'm saying all we think we can, doesn't mean that to be everything. As much as they can, remember or are directed. Then with time, they keep adding more things. Maybe they make more research. They do this. They keep adding, but to still be in line with all the inputs from the PO and co. Then it is now prioritized and ranked. So remember, I spoke about priority. Once that is done, the team now decides on the ones that they have the technical skills, the capability, and the capacity to be able to do, right? So the team decides on the one they want to now do. It becomes a sprint backlog. The moment we start the sprint, it becomes a sprint goal, right? So at the end of the 4 weeks iteration, it becomes an increment. Remember, I said finished work. Right now, it's increment. But within the sprint, every 24 hours, we do a stand-up just to check updates and progress of the team, accountability, remember, just to check the progress of the team. Is there any blocker? Is there anything we need to do? This is what I did yesterday, this is what I did today. I'm not able to progress again on this story. It is now officially blocked. Anything that we need to do, we know on this stand-up. Remember, within all this, at the start, we do a sprint planning. Remember, a sprint planning at the beginning, which is the first ceremony, but this one is done every day, except on the first and the last day, so to say. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but usually it's not done, right? So first day, every day. Now, in between, we will now do the refinements. It's not here right now. So that refinements, we just do the refinement in preparation of the future sprint, right? So then at the last day of the sprint, we'll now do the sprint review with the stakeholder. They give us our constructive feedback. We take some chill pills, go for break, calm down, then come back at home and relax. First gist, everybody cool down, remove the stress of work. After that, we talk about the main deal of what happened in all these places during the last 2 weeks. Like I said, when you're retrospecting, doesn't mean you go to 1994 and be thinking of what happened in 1994. It is what happened in the last 2 weeks that you should be looking at, except you're doing a quarter retrospective that says, okay, what has happened in the last PI? But if not, you're concentrating on what has happened in the last 2 weeks. So you focus on that and explain. So everybody will give them maybe 10 minutes, write out their ticket. When they do, then we'll read it out one after the other. Don't worry, we'll guide you and show you how to go about all this. And we'll do a proper demo for you for all this journey I have said. If you didn't pick anything this night, please go back to the video, listen to this process towards the end. It makes it easier for everyone. I can recap it 20 times, but I want to believe everybody has gotten the gist as much as we can. This is the whole story of Scrum, start to finish, nothing out of the ordinary. So in between, remember the values. You need to respect each other. You need to be focused, commitment, all those things. In between, transparency. Even already writing all these things, transparency, inspection. This is an inspection. This is an inspection. This year, adaptation. Everything works together. Anything, which other thing is Scrum? All our principle of agile values, everything, they all work within this space. That's how Scrum works. That's the whole idea of Scrum. All right. Moving on. Remember the question that Malga just asked you, your most important ceremony. Please, in interviews, always make them know that everything is important. However, you like this particular flavor for this reason. You can't just say, however, I like daily stand-up best. You have to put your why with correct backup why. Don't go too techy or this thing. Just say what, because in interviews, they just want to know what exactly has this person gone through this process. And anything, you can't give what you don't have, right? If you're quoting textbook, they'll know that you've not gone through the process. However, because now you're learning this process, you're going through the process, you'll be able to give what you have. That's why I've been indulging you guys, or please try and make sure that you attend all the ceremonies. Now I'll start using buzzwords. I'll not be telling you, oh, make sure you attend all the meetings. Now you know what ceremonies are. You now know there's no one there. It is proper meetings. So I can call it meetings, I can call it events, I can call it ceremonies. So please make sure you attend all your ceremonies. Make sure you are present in this internship. It will propel you to succeed in your IT journey here. So thank you very much. That's all about Scrum ceremonies. You see, Scrum ceremony is easy peasy. All right. I like that you ask most of the questions at the start, because if I ask at the end, a few questions might skip some people, or just let go, right? So with this, I'll ask before we call it a day. Any questions? Any questions? Any question? Don't hesitate to ask me.
Hey, hello.
Hi, Dakwa.
Yes, I think I missed the point there. During refinements, because I know there's much like you said, look, you kept going back to refinement. During refinement, is it the stakeholder that do really put pressure on the Scrum team to get to guide into the refinement, or the product owner, like, oh, the product is bringing new thing into what work that has been done. We need to there's a need for a change on what we are working on.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the question. So This is the reason refinement is done. And you remember we said we do it ahead of the sprint. So somebody has told me all the things I need to do as a PO. Remember, I'm the middleman between the stakeholder and the team. So I come to cascade to my team before we start the new sprint so that people can start having an idea of the next steps, right? So we come to do a refinement. We do, some people call it backlog grooming and all, but I don't like using all those old words, but it's good for us to know them. So when you hear it, to not be strange to you. It's also called backlog grooming, you know. So this refinement, you come and sit down and refine the new priorities that we want to take into the next sprint. Yeah. Now, the stakeholder does not have to be there because the stakeholder has already told somebody now, which is the PO. The PO will now cascade to us, right? So the PO will cascade to the team. So the BAs will keep asking questions because the BAs, with time, don't worry, you grow your technical skills of how to ask questions and put things in place and even know when and how to ask those questions. They are all skills you need to acquire as a BA. And BAs, you need to do a lot of research and all because some things will come to your friend that you've never seen before. So you need to make a research so you can have intelligent conversation with them. You can have right questions. So the BAs are asking all the right questions and everything. Then they prepare those stories down already. Now, when they prepare the story, that's when they now call we the team members, or we developer, QA, UI UX designer, maybe an architect, anything depending, an engineer. They now call us. Oh yeah, come and see what we want to do next sprint. Can we do this? Do we have the technical skills? Do we have this? And then when the BA, when the QA is reading it, or the developer is looking at it with one side eye. Whereas the BA, the QA, what is in his head is this story. Will I be able to test it? Okay, let me see all the dimensions and everything, all the dynamic of so okay, I'll be able to test it. That's what's running in the QA's head. In the developer said, will I be able to develop this thing in the first place? Now, if it's too ambiguous, the developer will seek for clarity during the refinement, not during sprint planning. Because during sprint planning, we're ready to start sprint. If we need to ask more questions, how will you start sprint on that day? Remember, it's day one of sprint. So that's why we do that refinement to be able to do all the groundwork, all the question and answer. If we need to even ask the PO a question that the PO does not know, that will give us a feedback. The PO still has time to go back to the stakeholder, ask the question and come back to feedback to the team. You understand? So at the point of refinement, we don't really need the stakeholder to come. But however, I told you, Agile works for us. If we need to, I have been in refinement that will bring in our stake. We'll jack them in the throat. Yeah, come, let's hear from the office's mouth. It's as if it doesn't mean the PO is not doing their work right, but just how it is first-hand information sometimes. You can bring your stakeholder to come in, but that's very rare depending on the expertise or if I'm doing a job, for example, as a PO and I've repeated that process over and over, that particular, I will be able to answer most of your questions. But if I really need to go back and feedback, I'll go get the feedback and cascade to the team. So that's that. But if need be, depending on the job or anything, we might bring a stakeholder to come help us out for clarification. But that's rare, like I said. Most times just focus on your PO. So the PO will tell you guys everything. Now, when you look at those stories, you want to break it into more granular states, break it down, you can do all those. So that's the idea of the refinement. You do it before the sprints. But remember, PO cascade to the team, BAs write out the story. Then the team will now come and look at it. Where can we do it? Do I have the technical skills? Am I able to do this? That's the reason for the refinement. Can I do this? Okay. If I can do this, is it clear exactly what I want to do? Is it the question mark? Is it supposed to be at the edge? Is the question mark supposed to be bigger than the question? Is it so I need to be very clear exactly what I need to do. If I'm fine with it, I give a thumbs up. Even sometimes during refinement, some people even do a bit of estimation and everything, so they'll be sure that that story is not too big. Because if the story is like a 13 story point, for example, they can say, okay, you know what, let's break this story further because it's a big story. So you can see the progress of your work. So as much as you can, don't worry all this terminology of break the story down. You get to know it as you go. But I don't want us to, not emphasize on what is important. But I hope you get the gist. Yeah. You get the gist before I go to Gabriel? Get the gist? Get the gist? Okay. All right, Gabriel, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you once again. Allow me for the put through that you have made us to go. You have taken us through.
Okay.
My question is, or if I may say, from the refinement and the retrospective meeting, if I may say, the difference between them is just the relaxing moment in the retrospective review.
Okay.
Because with my little understanding or with what you've said, they are both looking back at what has been done. What was the mistake? In what way can we adjust? What can we add to it? What needs to be changed? They both touch into that, both with refinement and retrospective. But in the last one, just the moment of relaxing. That's the difference between the refinement, if I may say.
All right. I'll break it down for you. Thank you, Gabriel. So this is it. The conversations in those two meetings are totally different. In refinement, we are refining the story, the work. Let me know your story now. The work we want to do. We are refining it and understanding the work we want to do. We need to understand. We are planning the work we want to do. Yeah? Follow me through this journey, Gabriel. In refinement, we are planning the work we want to do against the future. I want to build this house. I'm doing the planning of the foundation, cutting it into the sizes and everything. That is what happens during refinement, right? We are planning the work we want to do for next spring. Whereas in retrospective, it has nothing to do with planning. It has everything to do with flashback of this is all what we've done last spring. So what were the things that was disturbing us while we were working that did not make us remember all those thunderstorms I showed you? What are the things holding us back that did not make us work well? And what are the good things that happened? Oh, last spring, some of the good things that happened is there was high collaboration between us and the stakeholder. That stakeholder was on fire. He was just, giving us clarifications to all what we needed and everything. It was really good. IT, they were top notch. In fact, when I just sent that, I had a blocker on my Jira. They just helped, delete the Jira, re-imputed. I was able to do this. I was able to work immediately, all within the hour. When I needed help from Gabriel, Gabriel was able to help. We did it. Those are the things that went well during the course of the sprint. Now, what are the things that did not go well during the course of the sprint? During the course of the sprint, I was not able to get the data from so team, which stalled my work for me moving forward. You see that there are different conversations. One is telling me of the future things I want to do. I'm trying to prepare a story, the work gongo I want to do for the future. But one is telling me that all the work I've done in the past, though, this is what went well, this is what did not go well. There are two separate activities. Now, for clarity, Gabriel, I told you on Thursday we'll do a showcase of this. That you see some of our mentors, they'll do like a role play. It could even happen tomorrow, but most likely it's going to be on Thursday. It would do like a role play to tell you what happens in the sprint planning, what happens in the retrospective, what happens in the refinement, what happens in the daily stand-up, and what happens in the sprint review. Yeah, there are different activities. The two actually that is a bit similar now is now refinement and your sprint planning. They are the two that are similar. It's just that you have taken time to refine one, while the others you're just planning to work. Do you understand? You're just planning to take them into work. That's the difference between the two. Yeah?
Okay.
You have a bit more clarity, just a little bit more clarity. Don't worry with time you get to understand. But there are two different activities. They are not even alike. It's actually sprint planning and refinement that are a bit alike. Yeah? All right. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Just a quick question. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Nana.
Okay, hi. So would you be giving us a real project and we develop the stories and our respective roles, we play it, or do we make up our own like company and like do we make up our own project? I don't know if I'm clear.
Nana, you are very clear with your question. Do you want me to start bragging? This question you're asking me, the bragging question, I don't like it. No. I'm officially upset. So you see, in BlueSky, that's what we pride ourselves on. We will always give you a project to work on. Remember, I told you you have developers to help you develop your project. The SMs, you see them now in the next few days. Now, you see your SM trying to get your board ready. You see UBAs. That's the reason why we are skipping this presentation I said to Thursday, so that the BAs can start work. We want to fix elicitation tomorrow so that they can start the work. So the BAs will elicit requirements. When you say elicit requirements, more like gathering information that they will write out on that product backlog I've mentioned. They will write everything out for the product backlog and put there. We will give you actual projects that you are going to work on, that you will develop from scratch. You start from scratch. We will give, that's the difference between BlueSky and people that just give you theory. You see this one I gave you today, for example, is theory, right? From tomorrow, or should I just say from next week, you start doing the actual. Well, yeah, where's the story? We will not be doing this theory for you. You'll be doing the actual work. That's the idea of BlueSky. Yeah, that's the dream, and that's what we've always been doing. And that's where everybody has used to, understand some things that were not clear. So, what you get, we're going to give you proper projects that you will be seeing, you put it to life if you guys finish on time. If you don't finish on time, you don't put your project in life. So you need to ginger your team. All right, Nana, Sekle?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Alrighty. So don't worry, it's not theory. It's practical, actual work. You'll soon be tired, safe. You'll be running away. Hey, how many stories do they want me to write? So I'm tired. But don't worry, we'll keep encouraging you so you get the work done. All right, thank you. Any other person? Any question? Okay, I'm happy for us to wrap it up if there's no question. But the truth is, whether you even ask a question today or not, some questions will pop into your mind. Feel free to rewatch the video. Feel free to ask the questions, maybe at the start of the meeting, that first 5 minutes where we're waiting for others to join. If you join in early, you can ask your question. Anybody on here, we have excellent tutors and mentors. They'll respond to your questions. Even if by chance, whoever you are asking is not able to respond, they'll give you feedback shortly for that person. I don't think there's any question that you ask for things like this that they will not be able to respond to you. So feel free to ask everyone, some of these questions. And aside that, as you go on, when you get your mentors bodies, you can ask them questions, and we'll always help you, to learn and understand the process of Scrum. The process of Scrum is as simplified as possible, as I've shown you. But however, because you've not done it before, it might look cumbersome, it might look like, but don't worry, with time, you all get to understand the gist. Yeah. So please just take it on. Like I said, take up what you can today, give it a rest, watch the video again, pick up one or two things you can. If you have new questions, feel free to jump at us tomorrow. So we'll answer your questions for you before we start the next call. All right. Thank you. Any other question? Wrap it up. All right. Thank you. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for listening to the session today. Damsel, do you want to pause the recording?